The massive view screen aboard the Terran diplomatic vessel Harmony displayed what most species would consider a nightmare. A fleet of over 10,000 Nexus Alliance warships, their obsidian hulls reflecting the light of distant stars. Their angular forms, bristling with weapon ports, formed a wall of death that stretched beyond the visible range of the screen. Admiral Sarah Chen stood at the bridge's center, her weathered face illuminated by the soft blue glow of holographic displays. Her salt and pepper hair was pulled back in a neat bun, and her dress uniform bore no medals, a peculiarity that had always confused alien diplomats. She watched the incoming transmission with an expression that could only be described as mild amusement. "You primitive species have hidden in your corner of the galaxy for too long." Supreme Commander Vexthor's voice boomed through the ship's speakers. His holographic form towered in the center of the bridge, 4 arms crossed over his armored chest. The Nexus Alliance leader's scaled skin shimmered with bioluminescent patterns that pulsed with barely contained rage. "The time has come for humanity to kneel or be destroyed." Chen took a sip from her coffee mug, another peculiarity that alien observers found baffling during such a crucial moment. "Supreme Commander," she said, her voice carrying the tone one might use when speaking to a child throwing a tantrum, "I'm afraid there's been a misunderstanding." "The only misunderstanding," Vexthor snarled, "is your species' continued delusion of independence. Our scans show your defensive capabilities. Your technology is centuries behind ours. You have no chance off." A laugh interrupted him. Not from Chen, but from her first officer, Commander James Rodriguez, who quickly tried to disguise it as a cough. The attempt failed miserably, and several other bridge officers began to snicker. Vexthor's hologram flickered with rage. "You dare mock the might of the Nexus Alliance? Your entire civilization will burn for this insult." "Oh, do shut up," Chen said, setting down her coffee. The casual dismissal struck Vexthor silent. "I was trying to be diplomatic, but since you insist on these theatrics," she nodded to her communications officer. The view screen shifted, and suddenly the space around the Nexus fleet came alive. Thousands of quantum distortion fields shimmered into visibility, each revealing a Terran warship that had been there all along. But these weren't the outdated vessels the Alliance had observed. These ships were sleek, predatory, and unmistakably advanced. "You see," Chen continued, "we've had 3,000 years to prepare for someone like you. 3,000 years to watch, learn, and build. 3,000 years to perfect the art of appearing harmless." She stepped forward, her smile now carrying an edge sharp enough to cut through armor. "And in all that time, do you know what we learned about species like yours?" The bridge fell silent. Even the snickering officers stopped to watch their admiral deliver the punchline 3 millennia in the making. The more impressive they try to appear, the more desperate they are to hide their weakness. Chen's eyes locked with Vexthor's. "Your ships are impressive, certainly, but their shield harmonics are out of sync, a rookie mistake. Your weapon systems are running hot, suggesting poor heat management. And your formation," she shook her head. "Well, let's just say we stopped using that particular approach back when we were actually primitive." Vexthor's hologram distorted as he processed this information, his bioluminescence patterns shifting from rage to something closer to fear. "You're bluffing. Our intelligence. Your intelligence saw exactly what we wanted you to see." Rodriguez chimed in, no longer bothering to hide his grin. "Did you really think a species that survived its own violent history, conquered its home system, and maintained peace for 3,000 years did so by being weak?" Chen raised her coffee mug in a mock toast. "You have exactly 1 hour to withdraw your fleet. After that, we'll be forced to demonstrate exactly why humanity has survived so long in this galaxy." She paused, then added with a hint of genuine concern, "And please, do take the time to correct those shield harmonics. It would be embarrassing for everyone if your ship started falling apart before we even engage." The transmission cut off abruptly. In its wake, the bridge crew's suppressed laughter finally broke free. Chen returned to her command chair, a small smile playing at her lips as she watched the Nexus fleet's formation begin to waver. "Think they'll take the hint?" Rodriguez asked, wiping tears of mirth from his eyes. Chen took another sip of coffee. "They will. And if they don't..." She gestured to the massive Terran fleet surrounding the Alliance forces. "Well, I suppose someone needs to teach them why picking fights with seemingly peaceful species is a terrible idea." As if to prove her point, the first Nexus ships began to break formation, turning away from Earth. The retreat had begun, and with it, the galaxy's balance of power shifted. Not with a bang, not with a battle, but with laughter. Humanity's favorite weapon against those who confused patience for weakness. The stars watched silently as history repeated itself. Another empire learned too late that humanity's greatest strength wasn't in its ships or its weapons, but in its ability to wait for the perfect moment to reveal just how much it had been holding back. Deep within the Terran Strategic Command Complex beneath the Himalayas, Director Maya Patel stood before a wall of holographic displays. Each screen showed a different facet of humanity's carefully orchestrated deception, a masterpiece 3 millennia in the making. "Quite the performance by Admiral Chen," she mused, addressing the room of senior officials gathered for the emergency session. "Though I suspect our friends in the Nexus Alliance won't appreciate being the butt of the joke." The chamber, carved from the living rock of Earth's highest mountains, hummed with quiet energy. Quantum computers processed data streams from countless hidden sensors scattered throughout the galaxy, while tactical displays showed the retreating Nexus fleet in real time. General Marcus Santos, head of the Terran Defense Force, stepped forward. His dark skin contrasted sharply with the silver implants at his temples, subtle cybernetics that connected him directly to humanity's military network. "They're running comprehensive scans of our revealed fleet, trying to determine if our ships are real or elaborate holograms." "Let them look." Patel smiled. "The Lazarus Protocol has served its purpose. Time to let the galaxy see what humanity has become while they weren't watching." The room's central hologram shifted, displaying a three-dimensional map of human space. But unlike the maps shown to alien diplomats, this one revealed the true extent of Terran influence. Hidden shipyards in dark matter clouds, quantum communications arrays disguised as natural phenomena, and defensive installations that had masqueraded as asteroid fields for centuries. "Operation Ghostlight is proceeding as planned," reported Dr. Emma Zhang, Chief of Technological Development. Her augmented eyes glowed faintly as she accessed real-time data. "Our deep-cover agents are reporting mass panic among the Nexus Alliance leadership. Apparently, they're having trouble explaining to their population how they missed 3,000 years of human technological advancement." Laughter rippled through the chamber. It wasn't cruel laughter, more the kind shared between old friends who had successfully pulled off an elaborate practical joke. "Show them the architect array," Patel commanded. The hologram shifted again, revealing humanity's greatest achievement, a vast network of artificial quantum singularities, each contained within what appeared to be natural stellar phenomena. To outside observers, they were nothing more than interesting astronomical features. In reality, they formed the backbone of humanity's faster-than-light communications and energy distribution network. 3,000 years ago, Patel began, her voice carrying the weight of history, our ancestors made a choice. They saw how young civilizations that displayed their power too early became targets, how advanced species often fell to coalitions of their fearful neighbors, so they chose a different path. The displays showed historical footage, human ships deliberately designed to look primitive, diplomats playing the role of wide-eyed newcomers to galactic society, and carefully orchestrated technological breakthroughs that kept humanity appearing to progress at a believable rate. "We became the galaxy's greatest actors," Santos added. "Every technological advancement carefully hidden behind a facade of trial and error. Every military victory attributed to luck rather than skill. We turned our entire civilization into a galactic-scale production of just another young species." Dr. Zhang manipulated the hologram, highlighting key strategic points throughout human space. The Nexus Alliance's attack was actually ahead of schedule. We anticipated another century of preparation before revealing ourselves. But the fundamental strategy remains sound. And that strategy is, asked a junior officer, recently cleared for full disclosure. Patil's smile widened. To let them punch first, and miss. To let them commit fully to the attack, absolutely certain of their superiority. And then, she gestured to the displays showing the retreating Nexus fleet, to show them exactly why humanity's greatest weapon has always been patience. New data flashed across the screens. The Nexus Alliance's military deployments were in chaos. Their carefully planned invasion was unraveling as reports of hidden human capabilities spread through their ranks. Ships were returning to port, commanders were demanding explanations, and their entire military doctrine was being hastily rewritten. What about the other galactic powers? Santos asked. The revelation of our true capabilities will force them to reassess their own positions. Let them, Patil replied. We've prepared for this moment since before any of us were born. Our diplomatic corps is already reaching out through back channels, ready to begin the careful dance of reassuring our neighbors while establishing new boundaries. The room fell quiet as they watched the galaxy adjusting to humanity's revelation. Centuries of careful planning were coming to fruition, not with the bang of warfare, but with the quiet satisfaction of a masterpiece finally unveiled. Director, Dr. Zhang interrupted the moment. We're detecting quantum communications surges throughout Nexus space. It appears their leadership is fragmented. Some are calling for immediate military action, others for diplomatic solutions. And that, Patil said, is exactly why we revealed ourselves the way we did. Nothing destabilizes an aggressive empire quite like laughter in the face of their threats. She turned to address the room. Maintain current alert status. Let's show the galaxy that humanity can be just as disciplined in victory as we were in hiding. As the meeting continued, the displays showed more Nexus ships retreating, their once proud formation now scattered like leaves in a storm. Humanity's time of hiding was over, but their mastery of patience and planning was only beginning to show its true value. Flagship Eternal Dominion, watching the real-time tactical displays with growing dread. His bioluminescent patterns had dimmed to a dull gray, a sign of deep distress among his species. Impossible, he muttered, studying the data streaming in from their deep space sensors. They couldn't have hidden all of this. Not for so long. The chamber's walls displayed a devastating truth. Humanity's apparent technological backwardness had been an elaborate illusion. Every primitive human mining operation was revealing itself to be a sophisticated military installation. Each basic research station was unveiling layers of quantum-based technology that rivaled or exceeded Nexus capabilities. His second-in-command, war strategist Kylax, entered the chamber. Her usually impeccable armor was showing signs of stress damage. She had been personally overseeing the fleet's emergency combat drills for the past 12 hours. The Council of Admirals demands action, she reported, her voice tight with suppressed fury. They say our credibility will be destroyed if we withdraw completely. Vexthor's upper arms clenched while his lower ones manipulated the tactical displays. And what credibility will we have left if we attack and fail? New data flashed across the screens. Detailed analysis of the human ships that had suddenly appeared around their fleet. The technology was unlike anything in their database. Where Nexus ships relied on brute force and overwhelming firepower, the human vessels seemed to bend the laws of physics themselves. We still have numerical superiority, Kylax argued, and our fleet is already in position. If we strike now. Look at this, Vexthor interrupted, bringing up a sensor analysis of what they had thought was a primitive human defense satellite. The hologram revealed layer after layer of sophisticated technology, each more advanced than the last. They didn't just hide their strength. They turned their weaknesses into weapons. The satellite's apparent structural flaws were actually quantum-linked weapon ports. Its outdated communication array concealed a network of temporal sensors. Even its worn exterior was a form of metamaterial that could alter its properties at will. "Commander," a communications officer's voice crackled through the ship's speakers. "We're detecting unusual energy signatures from the human fleet. They appear to be waiting." Vex Thor felt his scales ripple with unease. The humans weren't pressing their advantage. They weren't making demands. They were simply watching, their ships positioned with perfect precision around the Nexus fleet. "Run a strategic analysis," he ordered. "Full spectrum, all scenarios." The ship's quantum computers hummed as they processed the command. Moments later, the results appeared on the main display. Kylax's bioluminescence paled as she read them. Every possible attack vector they could take had already been countered. Each potential strategy they might employ was already neutralized by the humans' positioning. It wasn't just a defensive formation. It was a message written in the language of tactical warfare. "They've been playing us since before we arrived," Vex Thor realized. "Every move we made, every position we took." He gestured to the display. "We flew right into a trap 3,000 years in the making." As if to confirm his words, new sensor data began streaming in. The humans hadn't just surrounded their fleet. They had quantum-locked key strategic positions throughout Nexus space. Hidden facilities were powering up, revealing themselves in systems the Alliance had thought secure. "Sir," the communications officer called again, "we're receiving a transmission from the human flagship. Text only." The message appeared on Vex Thor's personal display. "Check." "Like that human game," Kylax murmured. "Chess." "No," Vex Thor corrected, his voice hollow. "In chess, you announce check when victory is near. This." He gestured to the tactical displays, showing the true extent of humanity's preparation. "This is them telling us the game was over before we even arrived." A new alert sounded, long-range sensors detecting more human ships emerging from quantum gates throughout Alliance space. Not attacking, not threatening, simply taking up positions that rendered any possible Nexus response futile. "Orders, Supreme Commander," Kylax asked, her professional composure cracking slightly. Vex Thor stared at the human ships surrounding his fleet. Their positioning was perfect, not just militarily, but psychologically. Each vessel was placed exactly where it needed to be to demonstrate the futility of resistance, while offering a clear path of retreat. "Send to all ships," he said finally. "Full withdrawal. Standard acceleration." His upper arms gripped the command rail tightly. "And prepare my personal shuttle. The Council of Admirals will want an explanation in person." As the massive Nexus fleet began its humiliating retreat, Vex Thor couldn't help but appreciate the elegance of humanity's strategy. They had turned their greatest perceived weakness, their technological inferiority, into an impenetrable defense. Every assumption about their capabilities had been carefully crafted, every piece of intelligence about their limitations deliberately planted. "One final thing," he added as Kylax turned to leave. "Send a message to the human flagship." "Sir." "Tell them." He watched another wave of hidden human installations reveal themselves, each one perfectly positioned to control key strategic points. "Tell them we acknowledge their victory, and that we understand now why they were laughing." In the crystal gardens of the Galactic Commerce Exchange, Ambassador Lyra Patel walked among the bioluminescent flowers, their soft glow reflecting off her simple diplomatic uniform. To any observer, she appeared to be taking a casual stroll while waiting for the emergency session to begin. In reality, she was at the heart of humanity's greatest revelation. The Exchange's grand halls had been her home for the past decade, a decade spent carefully maintaining humanity's facade of wide-eyed technological inferiority. Now, as representatives from 100 species rushed to emergency meetings, she allowed herself a small smile. Her neural implants, disguised as traditional Indian jewelry, streamed constant updates. The Nexus Alliance fleet was in full retreat. Smaller powers were scrambling to reassess their intelligence on Earth. And through it all, humanity's true network of influence was finally showing itself. "Ambassador Patel," a familiar voice called. She turned to see Corell, the Ardanian trade minister, approaching. His crystalline form sparkled with anxiety patterns. "I must admit, your people have given us quite a surprise." "Have we?" Lyra's smile remained gentle. "I would think our actions have been quite consistent." "Consistent?" Corell's crystal lattice flickered in disbelief. "You've hidden an entire technological empire." "No," Lyra corrected, touching one of the garden's flowers. It responded to her presence, changing color in ways that shouldn't have been possible with the exchange's primitive, earth-based botanical specimens. "We simply understood something that the Nexus Alliance never could. True power doesn't need to be displayed to be effective." The flower's change had caught Corell's attention. His sensory crystals oriented toward it, analyzing. "These gardens, they're not just decorative, are they? They're quantum-entangled environmental sensors," Lyra confirmed. "Every flower, every crystal formation in every human-maintained garden throughout galactic space is part of our monitoring network. We've been gathering intelligence and maintaining surveillance through what everyone dismissed as our quaint attempts at bringing Earth's nature to the stars." Corell's form stiffened as implications cascaded through his crystalline mind. "The trade agreements were exactly what they appeared to be," Lyra assured him. "Humanity has never broken a contract or violated a treaty. We simply understood that appearing harmless was far more valuable than appearing powerful." Her neural implants pinged. The emergency session was about to begin. As they walked toward the grand chamber, Corell processed this revelation. "The Resource Management Committee," he said suddenly. 3 centuries ago, when humanity volunteered to handle the simple task of coordinating deep space mining rights." Lyra nodded. "We positioned ourselves to monitor and control the flow of strategic materials throughout the galaxy, not through force or coercion, but through careful administration and a reputation for fairness." They entered the chamber, where representatives from across the galaxy were taking their seats. The huge room hummed with nervous energy and whispered conversations. "Your construction businesses," Corell continued, pieces falling into place, "always underbidding the major powers for basic infrastructure projects, giving us access to every major installation, space station, and planetary defense system," Lyra confirmed, "all while building in capabilities that everyone assumed we were too primitive to understand." The chamber speaker called for order. Lyra took her seat, deliberately positioned in the middle ranks, neither too prominent nor too obscure. Corell settled beside her, his crystalline form still processing revelations. "Why reveal everything now?" he asked quietly as the session began. Lyra's neural implants streamed footage of the retreating Nexus fleet, because sometimes the best way to prevent a war is to show your opponents that they've already lost. The session opened with demands for explanations, accusations of deception, and thinly veiled threats. Lyra listened patiently as species after species expressed their shock and concern. When it was her turn to speak, she stood calmly. "Distinguished representatives," she began, her voice carrying the weight of 3,000 years of human planning, "let me tell you a story about patience." For the next hour, she laid out humanity's true role in galactic affairs. Not as conquerors or deceivers, but as subtle guardians of stability. Every trade agreement, every diplomatic mission, every cultural exchange had served a dual purpose: maintaining peace while preparing for those who would shatter it. "We could have revealed ourselves centuries ago," she concluded. "We could have claimed our place among the great powers through force or intimidation. Instead, we chose to prove ourselves worthy of that position through service, reliability, and dedication to galactic peace." The chamber fell silent as centuries of history were recontextualized. Every human mistake that had somehow worked out for the best, every lucky coincidence that had prevented conflict, every primitive human solution that had solved complex problems, all part of a carefully orchestrated dance. The Nexus Alliance sought to shatter 3,000 years of peace, Lyra said into the silence. Instead, they revealed why that peace has endured. Because humanity has worked tirelessly to maintain it, hidden in plain sight, waiting for the moment when our true capabilities would be needed not to start a war, but to prevent one. As the session continued, Lyra's neural implants registered thousands of quantum communications being initiated throughout human space. The galaxy's power structures were realigning, not through violence or chaos, but through the dawning realization that humanity had been quietly holding everything together all along. Admiral Sarah Chen stood at the viewport of humanity's newly revealed quantum observatory, watching the swirling colors of the galactic core. The massive station, hidden for centuries in a fold of space-time, offered a view few non-humans had ever witnessed. "Beautiful, isn't it?" she asked her guest. Supreme Commander Vex Thor, now serving as the Nexus Alliance's peace envoy, stood awkwardly beside her. His bioluminescent patterns shifted between embarrassment and awe. 3 days ago, I would have sworn this station couldn't exist, he admitted. Now I wonder what else we've been blind to. The station's quantum crystal walls hummed with energy, processing data from humanity's vast network of sensors and installations. Below them, in the station's diplomatic wing, representatives from every major galactic power were gathered for the first true State of the Galaxy conference. "You know what the funniest part is?" Chen asked, taking a sip from her ever-present coffee mug. "We really were primitive when we first reached the stars. Everything in our historical records about our early struggles is completely true." Vex Thor's patterns flickered with confusion. "But your technology was developed exactly as we claimed," Chen finished. "Through trial and error, hard work, and determination. We just didn't stop advancing when we appeared to." She gestured to a holographic display showing humanity's actual technological progress alongside what they had revealed to the galaxy. The real deception wasn't in hiding our capabilities, but in hiding our potential. The display showed centuries of careful calculation, each apparent technological plateau concealing exponential growth, each primitive human solution masking quantum-level innovations. "Your people fought among themselves for millennia," Vex Thor observed. "Yet you achieved unity long enough to maintain this deception for 3,000 years. How?" Chen's smile carried centuries of shared human purpose. "Because we learned something from our violent past. The greatest victories don't come from destroying your enemies, but from making conflict itself obsolete." A soft chime announced the arrival of Director Maya Patel and Ambassador Lyra Patel. They were accompanied by Corel, whose crystalline form now bore the markings of the newly formed Galactic Cooperation Council. "The final treaties are ready for signing," Lyra announced. "Every major power has agreed to the new framework." "Even those who were initially resistant?" Chen asked. Maya's eyes gleamed with satisfaction. "Amazing how reasonable people become when they realize they've been dancing to your tune for centuries without noticing." Vex Thor's patterns shifted to a deep blue of realization. "The framework isn't new at all, is it? You've been building it into every treaty, every trade agreement, every cultural exchange program since your species first reached the stars." "Now he gets it," Chen laughed softly. "Humanity's greatest weapon was never our hidden fleets or advanced technology. It was our patience in building a galaxy where war became increasingly unnecessary." Corel's crystalline surface rippled with amusement. "And the Nexus Alliance's threat of war simply provided the perfect opportunity to reveal the structure that was already in place." The station's sensors registered the arrival of more diplomatic ships. The galaxy's power structures weren't just realigning. They were finally aligning with the framework humanity had spent 3 millennia carefully constructing. "There will be those who resist," Vex Thor warned, "who see this as human dominance rather than cooperation." "Of course," Chen agreed. "That's why we're revealing everything now, showing the full extent of both our capabilities and our restraint. The galaxy needs to understand that humanity could have dominated through force at any time in the past 1,000 years." She turned to face him fully. "Instead, we chose to build something better." The observatory's quantum crystals pulsed with new data, trade routes optimizing themselves now that humanity's true capabilities were known, scientific cooperation flourishing as centuries of hidden human research was gradually shared, and defense networks integrating seamlessly with revealed human systems. You know what the best part is? Maya asked, reviewing the latest diplomatic updates. We don't have to pretend to be bad at paperwork anymore. The comment broke the diplomatic tension. Even Vex Thor joined in the laughter, his bioluminescence brightening to colors of genuine amusement. As the station rotated, the galactic core gave way to a view of Earth, shining blue and peaceful in the distance. Humanity's cradle had become the heart of not just an empire, but something far more valuable. A galactic civilization built on cooperation rather than conquest. To the next 3,000 years, Chen proposed, raising her coffee mug in a toast. May they be filled with more laughter than threats. The others raised their various drinking vessels: human coffee, Nexus plasma, crystalline nutrient solution, in agreement. As they watched the galaxy spinning before them, the quantum crystals hummed with the data of a new age, one where humanity's greatest deception had paved the way for genuine peace. And somewhere, in the vast network of human space, the last hidden installations powered down their camouflage systems. They weren't needed anymore. The joke had been revealed, the punchline delivered, and the galaxy was finally ready for the truth.